A police interview room in 2026. Investigators examine a black Amazon tablet seized from a 12-year-old's bedroom. What they discovered in the device's digital evidence would reveal months of meticulous planning, research, documents, practice runs that investigators never thought possible from someone so young. The tablet contained dates, times, locations, and a record of methodical preparation for what the child believed was the perfect crime. But the digital trail that didn't exist when the crime was committed would become the evidence that unraveled it all. The crime scene in a quiet suburban neighborhood looked deceptively ordinary. A child's bedroom, complete with superhero posters and homework scattered across a desk. But the Amazon tablet seized from that room would reveal something that redefined investigators' understanding of juvenile criminal planning. The prosecution assembled 40 terabytes of evidence, a digital mountain that included months of methodical research, practice runs, and detailed documentation that no one thought a 12-year-old could produce. The tablet's browser history told a chilling story. Between February and April 2025, the device recorded thousands of searches. Not random childhood curiosity, but systematic research into forensic countermeasures, body disposal methods, and police investigation techniques. The child had studied crime scene contamination, DNA evidence collection, and researched how long it takes for digital evidence to be permanently deleted from devices. Each search was methodical, building on the previous one like a graduate-level course in criminal methodology. But the searches were just the beginning. Hidden in encrypted folders, investigators found detailed planning documents that read like operational manuals, maps of the intended crime scene with escape routes marked in red ink, timetables showing when parents would be at work, when neighbors typically left their homes, when garbage trucks made their rounds. The child had created fake social media accounts to monitor the intended victims' daily routines, documenting their schedule with the precision of a professional surveillance operation. The most disturbing discovery came in a series of voice memos recorded on the device between March 15th and April 20th, 2025. In these recordings, the child practiced conversations, rehearsing how to lure someone to a specific location, how to respond if questioned by police, how to display appropriate emotional reactions during a missing person investigation. The recordings revealed a level of emotional manipulation and psychological planning that forensic psychologists typically associate with adult offenders, not middle school students. Forensic psychiatrists who reviewed the evidence noted that the planning showed sophisticated understanding of criminal investigation procedures that would challenge experienced adult criminals. The child had researched police response times in their neighborhood, studied local crime statistics to understand when investigators would be most overwhelmed, and identified which family members would likely be questioned first during a missing person investigation. The practice runs documented on the device were equally methodical. GPS data showed the child had walked potential escape routes 17 times between March and April, timing each path and identifying hiding spots along the way. Photos stored on the tablet showed the child had visited the intended crime scene multiple times, taking pictures from different angles and documenting potential evidence that would need to be eliminated. Perhaps most chilling was the discovery of a digital journal, where the child had analyzed famous unsolved cases, noting what investigators missed and how those mistakes could be avoided. The entries showed the child understood that modern forensic techniques had evolved far beyond what existed when many cold cases were investigated, and they were planning accordingly. When investigators examined the tablet's deleted files, recovered through advanced digital forensic techniques, they found evidence that the child had created detailed profiles of multiple potential victims. Each profile included daily routines, family structures, and vulnerability assessments that demonstrated a level of predatory planning typically seen in serial offenders with decades of experience. The digital evidence painted a picture of a child who had essentially taught themselves criminal methodology through internet research, then systematically planned and practiced until they believed they had created the perfect crime. The same digital tools that enabled such sophisticated planning would ultimately become the evidence trail that exposed every detail of their methodical preparation. After seeing how this 12-year-old researched forensic countermeasures and practiced escape routes 17 times, Do you think a child this young could actually execute such a complex plan, or would they crack under pressure? Drop your answer in the comments below. What investigators discovered next would test that theory in the most unexpected way. The courtroom in 2026 became the ultimate testing ground for the child's belief in digital perfection. When prosecutors presented their case, the defense argued that no 12-year-old could possibly execute such sophisticated planning without adult involvement. The child's own attorney claimed the evidence was circumstantial, that the research could have been academic curiosity, that the planning documents were elaborate fantasy scenarios, common in children exposed to crime shows and podcasts. But the prosecution had something unprecedented in juvenile criminal cases: a complete digital reconstruction of criminal intent spanning 4 months. The child's tablet had automatically backed up every search, every deleted file, every location, pinged to cloud storage that investigators could access with proper warrants. The irony was devastating. The same digital literacy that enabled such sophisticated criminal planning also created an unbreachable evidence trail. The most damaging evidence came from the device's automatic screen recording feature, which the child had unknowingly activated while researching. These recordings showed the child methodically taking notes during crime documentary viewing sessions, pausing to research specific forensic techniques mentioned in the programs, then cross-referencing those techniques with academic papers on criminal investigation methodology. The recordings captured the child's voice narrating their own research process, explaining to themselves how each piece of information would be useful for avoiding detection. Expert testimony revealed that the child had studied digital forensics itself, researching how investigators recovered deleted data and attempting to use military-grade encryption software to hide files. Every attempt to cover digital tracks had been automatically logged by the device's operating system, creating a meta-record of the cover-up attempts themselves. The prosecution's digital forensics expert testified that the evidence showed planning sophistication typically associated with adult serial offenders who had refined their methods over years of criminal activity. The child had researched police response protocols, studied local crime statistics to identify optimal timing windows, and even analyzed social media algorithms to understand how missing person posts spread through online communities. The planning documents included contingency strategies for different investigation scenarios, suggesting the child understood that criminal plans must account for law enforcement countermeasures. The digital journal entries analyzing real unsolved cases revealed the child understood which investigative mistakes modern technology could close, and exploited that knowledge in the planning itself.
The defense's final argument centered on the child's age and cognitive development, arguing that sophisticated digital research didn't equate to actual criminal capability. They presented expert testimony suggesting the planning was elaborate fantasy, the kind of detailed fictional scenarios that many children create without any intention of acting on them. They emphasized that no actual crime had been committed. This was a case built entirely on digital evidence of criminal planning. But the prosecution's closing argument proved devastating. They demonstrated that the child's digital preparation had progressed beyond fantasy into operational readiness. The practice runs were real. The surveillance of potential victims was documented through location data and photographs. The child had acquired physical materials consistent with their digital research, including items that served no purpose other than implementing the planned crime. The evidence showed a progression from research to planning to preparation to the brink of execution, stopped only by the investigation that the child never saw coming. The verdict tested whether the justice system was prepared to hold a 12-year-old accountable for digital-age criminal planning that surpassed the sophistication of many adult offenders. The case established that in 2026, digital evidence could prove criminal intent with unprecedented precision, regardless of the defendant's age, fundamentally changing how courts evaluate premeditation in the smartphone era. Subscribe for more cases where technology solved seemingly impossible crimes.